Ditka! I'm a Ditka.
What?
I'm sorry, Denise. It's just not going to work out.
In 2016, the MCU was coming off the unbelievable success of the MCU's Phases 1 and 2, continuing to build up to one of the greatest achievements in cinema history, the completion of the Infinity Saga, and it was announced that Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel would be coming to the big screen. In 1999, yours truly was a freshman in college, and the New Orleans Saints were coming off 6 straight losing seasons.
Oh, shit.
Nice try, freshman.
In a desperation move, team owner Tom Benson, 2 years prior, had brought in larger-than-life coach Mike Ditka and given him the keys to the kingdom in the hopes of turning around his moribund franchise. Both franchises, one coming from a position of strength and the other from a position of desperation, are about to make 2 all-in decisions that will greatly affect the future of both franchises.
I'll re-raise, I'm all in.
Let's take a look at what we can learn from those all-in bets. In 2016, Brie Larson was not a household name, but she was far from an unknown. She had to her credits a song that had hit number 31 on the Billboard singles charts. She had co-written and co-produced a short film that won a special jury prize at Sundance. She'd won an Independent Spirit Award for Best Female Lead in Short Term 12, and had most recently won an Oscar, Golden Globe, BAFTA, and Screen Actors Guild Award for Best Female Lead for her portrayal of Joy Newsome in the film Room. With Disney looking for a young, up-and-coming actress to play Carol Danvers, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that better fit what they were looking for. Heading into the 1999 NFL Draft, Ricky Williams had left the University of Texas as the NCAA's all-time leading rusher with 21 NCAA records, the first ever 2-time winner of the Doak Walker Award, given to the nation's best running back, and had won the 2018 Heisman Trophy with a then-record high percentage of the vote. He was considered a can't-miss prospect and a franchise player to build around, something the New Orleans Saints and their fans desperately needed. Captain Marvel would be released in 2019 and bring in a box office of $1.1 billion. It benefited greatly from being released between Infinity War and Endgame, with implications that you needed to see Captain Marvel before seeing Endgame. A genius marketing tactic that worked so well that even my then 63-year-old mother called me and asked if she needed to see Captain Marvel before seeing Endgame. Regardless of the debate over the merit of its box office, it was officially a billion-dollar franchise. And while you can never take that away, the party would only last for so long. Its follow-up, The Marvels, released in 2023, was a box office disaster, bringing in a meager $206 million and failing to reach $100 million at the North American box office. Add on to that a Blu-ray deleted scene with a strap-on dildo joke involving a character that was a 16-year-old minor, and you have quite the fall from grace.
I'm single.
Okay.
5 seconds to the jump point.
Oh, you might want to triple. I mean, trip him.
What the actual fuck?
During the 1999 NFL Draft, Mike Ditka and the Saints would pull off one of the biggest trades in NFL history, trading their 1999 first, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and 7th round picks, along with their 2001st and 3rd round picks, to the Washington Redskins for the 1999 5th overall pick and the rights to draft Ricky Williams. Since the Saints had already traded their 1999 2nd round pick, this would be the first time ever an NFL team traded their entire draft and left that draft with only one player. The Saints would go 3-13 during that 1999 season, the second worst season in franchise history. Injuries would limit Williams to 12 games and under 1,000 yards rushing, and Coach Ditka and the Saints GM would be fired at season's end. Williams would last only 2 more seasons with the Saints before being traded to the Miami Dolphins, resulting in Ricky's tenure in New Orleans and the draft day trade that brought him there being considered one of the worst mistakes in NFL history. How did 2 situations that looked so promising turn out so horribly? Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel was an interesting character in the comics. During Kurt Busiek's and the late great George Perez's run on the Avengers, she was a flawed superhero who struggled with a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose, and the insecurity of feeling like she wasn't as worthy as her fellow Avengers. These issues led her to clash with her teammates and struggle with alcohol to cope, making her an extremely relatable and sympathetic character. Most importantly, someone the audience could relate to. We've all struggled with fitting in, our confidence, or our purpose at some part in our lives. That run on the Avengers is still one of my favorites in comics. Unfortunately for Disney, the Carol Danvers we got in the Disney-owned Marvel Comics and the MCU was an omni-powered, near-perfect, Superman-like character who was, stop me if you've heard this before, powerful all along. She just needed to see that power within herself. Puke. Throw that pesky old character arc out the window, who needs one of those? This character was always amazing and superpowered, a character that was not only unrelatable to the average person, but was artificially propped up to be more powerful than all the characters we had grown to love over the years. Not only was she better and more powerful than all the original Avengers, she was so overpowered that the writers had to find excuses for her to go away so that the story could unfold without her. We loved the original Avengers because we followed them through their ups and downs, their lessons they learned, their victories and defeats. We felt like part of the team, from someone as powerful as the Hulk to a petite badass like Black Widow. Now Marvel was throwing in this all-powerful character we barely knew, and she was here to lead the future of the MCU. And why? Was it good for the story? Was it the natural progression? Had it worked in the comics? Was it something the fans were asking for? No, Kevin Feige was publicly embarrassed by the success of DC's Wonder Woman, and he was repeatedly asked by the media where Marvel's Wonder Woman was. So here she was, fast-tracked, all-powerful, one-dimensional, and bland, Captain Marvel. Not only was Captain Marvel rushed, but the two pillars of the MCU, Iron Man and Captain America, were dead and elderly and retired respectfully. DC famously ruined their universe by rushing to catch up with Marvel and the Avengers. Marvel had now returned the favor, sacrificing their universe to keep up with Wonder Woman, and the social equity points having a strong female lead brought. Add on to all of that, Brie Larson making negative public statements about the majority of the MCU fan base, and reports of not getting along with their co-stars, and you had a self-inflicted recipe for disaster.
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him. On top of all of this, am I saying that I hate white dudes? No, I'm not.
First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face!
It wasn't because she was female. Black Widow, Gamora, and Nebula were loved by the fans, myself included. It was because those characters had flaws, they were relatable, and by the time they'd reached their character peaks, we knew and understood them. Those three are perfect examples of how you do strong female characters. I don't hate the MCU's Captain Marvel, but I don't love her either. Brie Larson seems like a nice enough person, she seems funny and charming in real life, and she's clearly talented. But for me, it just felt like this rushed situation where Marvel was like, here's the new best thing, without giving us any time to get to know her. It wasn't that I was against Captain Marvel leading the MCU, I just didn't care about the character as she was presented to me. Much the same thing happened with Ricky Williams. A rookie was brought into the Saints locker room with all the attention on him, and to be fair, attention he didn't ask for. Like Brie, he was talented, but also like with her situation, there were veterans that had been there before Ricky, that had put in the work and paid their dues. And just like Captain Marvel and the MCU losing their big supports in Captain America and Iron Man, Ricky had a shell of a team around him. Not good news for a running back that depends on an offensive line, a passing game to complement the running game, and a defense. You don't just trade away 10 draft picks and not suffer the repercussions on your depth chart. When Jim Haslett took over for Mike Ditka, the Saints had to sign 27 free agents just to fill out their depleted roster. Both Captain Marvel and Ricky Williams were set up to fail from the beginning, because both the Saints and the MCU were impatient. Ricky Williams and Brie Larson are two very talented people, but in a movie franchise and in sports, you need a team. Neither the Saints nor Disney provided a proper team to work within. The Saints would end up signing Drew Brees at quarterback and would build a team around him that would win a Super Bowl in 2009. The fans were forgiving because while the Saints took a huge risk on Ricky Williams, they had nothing to lose. Logic says it's ill-advised to build a team around a running back. You get your offense and defensive lines in order, you get a franchise quarterback, and then you get a running back. But Saints fans had known nothing but losing, and at least the Ricky Williams era brought with it excitement and hope, however short-lived. The MCU was king of the world when they brought Captain Marvel in. The Infinity Saga was one of the greatest achievements in cinema. They were the ones calling the shots. They could have made Captain Marvel flawed and relatable. We could have followed her through personal victories and defeats, gotten to know her and grown to love her as a character. But Disney needed a strong, all-powerful female character, and they needed her now. The Saints went all in because they had nothing to lose. The MCU went all in with everything to lose by their own choice. The Saints, on the other hand, felt like they had no choice. But the Saints also learned from their mistake and quickly corrected it, becoming one of the more successful NFL franchises of the last 15 years. Phase 4 and 5 have been utter disasters for Disney, and unlike the Saints, it hasn't looked like they are in any rush to fix their mistakes. Has Disney and the MCU learned its lesson? Will it become a successful franchise again? Only time will tell. But I wouldn't bet the house on it.